Welcome to the High Income Business Writing Podcast, helping you propel your writing business to a whole new level. And now, here's your host, Ed Gandia.
Hey there, welcome to another episode of the High Income Business Writing Podcast, the number one podcast for freelance writers, copywriters, and solo marketers who want to earn more in less time doing work they love for better clients. With over 1.4 million downloads from listeners just like you across 101 countries. Picture your income over the last 6 months. Now picture losing your single biggest client tomorrow morning. How big a hole does that leave? For a lot of freelance writers, the honest answer is uncomfortable, and that's putting it mildly. That one client covers half the income, sometimes more. If that's you, stay with me, because how much of your business rides on one client might be the biggest risk you're facing right now. I want to talk about that today. This is something that I touched on in the previous episode, but today I want to just focus on this dynamic, not in a doom and gloom way, but more in a practical way, so you can actually do something about it. Let me start with a shift in how you might be thinking about independence itself. When we went solo, you and I and all of us in this game, a lot of us pictured independence as not needing anyone. I know I did. No boss, no company telling us what to do, just us, our clients, and the freedom to run our own show. But here's what I've learned after coaching writers through this for 14 years. You never stop depending on something. You never do. You depend on clients. You depend on the people who refer you work. You depend on the platforms and the channels where new business comes from. That dependence doesn't go away when you go out on your own. It just gets harder to notice. So the question that actually matters is this: did you choose those dependencies on purpose, or did you slowly adopt them without even noticing it? Most of us do the latter, and I get it. Look, I've done this myself. You land a great client, the work is steady, you're grateful for it, so you pour more and more of your time into them. You don't just sit down one day and decide, I'm going to build my business, entire business, on just this one account. It just happens, one good month at a time. And it just feels great. It's like, oh man, this is so much work coming from one place. It's so steady. I don't have to find all these other clients. You know, in the back of your mind, it's risky. But man, it feels great sometimes. But then you look up and realize that maybe this is not a great idea to have most of your income coming from a single source. So let's name the usual suspects, because there are several elements at play here that we need to talk about. The most common one is a single anchor client. So one company, one budget, one relationship that covers most of your income. Then there's a single referral source. This is one that a lot of people don't think about. Almost all your work comes from that one person who keeps sending people your way. And that's great until they change jobs or move on. Then there's a single channel. All your business comes from that one platform, or that one network, or that one place. If it dries up, or they change the rules, or something changes to that dynamic, so does your pipeline. And then there's a single type of work. So you do one thing for one type of client in one industry. And when AI or a market shift comes for that one thing, you've got nothing else to fall back on. Any one of these can become the thing your whole business depends on without you even deciding that it should. Now, let me get specific about the anchor client, because that's the one that I see the most. You're probably the most familiar with as well. Say you got a client that's a marketing agency. This is a very common scenario, because marketing agencies are all about production work. So they have a steady pipeline, many of them do, and it's all about cranking out the work. So it's very easy to land one of them as a client, and once you develop trust and a reputation, for them to just start feeding you more. They funnel you that steady work month after month, and it's the best kind of client in many cases because it's predictable, professional, they probably pay on time. Again, not everybody, but that happens. It's very common for this to become a very predictable source of income. And then over a year or two, before you know, they grow up to be 60% of your income, let's say. And honestly, life is good. You stop marketing because you don't have time to market. The work is just coming in. It's steady. It's predictable. You stop taking discovery calls. You're just busy, so you don't really think about it. The money's coming in, and you kind of get into this new routine, and you stop thinking about the risk. But then the agency loses its biggest account. I mean, overnight. And it's unexpected, and it's not your fault. It's nothing you did, but their budget gets cut overnight. And the first thing to go is the outside freelancers, including you. So in one email, 60% of your income is gone. Gosh, I've heard this story many times, and that's hard. It's happened to me. I'll tell you about that in a minute. But the point is, you stop marketing maybe a year or two ago, and I've got no pipeline, no warm prospects, no second leg to stand on. And that's the risk of having one main big client. And the better the client, the easier it is to let them become your whole world. Because again, it's like, oh, this is fantastic. I love them. Their work is steady. It's predictable. But, past results, we've all heard this, right? Past results don't guarantee future outcomes or results. And here's the painful truth. When one client is half of your income or more, you don't have a business with clients. You have a job with one boss, and none of the protection, the perks, the job benefits that it comes with, a traditional job would come with. You have no severance, no notice, no backup. You've taken all the risk of employment and kept none of the safety. Now, it's happened to me several times, but there are two that really stand out. And the first one was the most painful, because I was riding high and it was good times. And this company, at the time they were called CDC Software, had become my biggest client. So I had had them for 3 years. They were extremely steady. They had a big marketing department, and they had different divisions. So big marketing team, and they were feeding me all kinds of work. And the cool thing about them, one of the many cool things, is they were easy to work with. And my contacts would just spread the word inside the marketing team. So I would get random emails from some other marketing directors or managers. Hey, I hear you're working with Bill. We got this thing. Are you interested? So word spread, and I started landing all this work. Different divisions of the company, very steady. They had become more than half my income. I want to say it was probably about 60% of the time. And everything stopped in late spring of 2008. Now, for those of you who have been through the great financial crisis, whether you were traditionally employed or as a freelancer, you already know how ugly that got. This was a really, really difficult year for me. I have talked about this before in the podcast. It nearly broke me. It was so hard. I had gone out on my own. First of all, I had started my business in late 2003, early 2004. I did it part-time while I kept my full-time day job. In June of 2006, so 20 years ago, I went fully on my own, and I was super busy from day one, making a great income, steady income. And so it had been 2 years, and I hadn't experienced a dip. And this just kind of came out of nowhere, it seemed. People were talking about recession, potential recession, things are getting bad. And I just thought, I'd experienced recessions before, but never self-employed. But this thing was bad. And if you remember, it was like the worst one I had been through. And to this day, it was the hardest one. It went away. That summer was extremely difficult. I had to start drawing from savings, and I couldn't find a replacement client to save my life. And I started getting discouraged. And, I hate to admit it, but I stopped trying. It just became too hard emotionally. It was too difficult, and it was demoralizing to not get anywhere with anyone. I did everything. I tapped my network. I sent emails. I did direct mail. I even got on Upwork. I'm like, should I get on Upwork and just see what I can find? It was bad, really, really bad until November of that year. So it was months. So that was a huge lesson. Now that I think about it, actually the irony of it all, the client I landed that November, it was actually early December, was a software company that just saved me. That company rescued me from almost running out of savings. And they were fantastic. They were wonderful people. And I was just so happy to be back in the game. And they fed me all kinds of work, and I was making a real difference there. And in 2009, 2010, they quickly became more than 50% of my income. In fact, I landed a retainer with them, and it was steady. I want to say it was $6,300 a month. It was fantastic. And I had other clients. I actually had another client on retainer at the time, which was wonderful. But in 2011, their main person, my main contact, left, and they hired somebody else who just, I don't know, she just didn't click with me, or I didn't click with her, I should say. And she slowed down the work and she stopped the work. And then I did a project for her that she had a problem with, and she just basically fired me. So the company that ended up saving me 3 years later, which is a big chunk of my income, ended up firing me. And in fact, when I look back, that was right around the time when I started really getting into coaching. I had already been wanting to do a little bit more coaching, and that was the impetus I needed to, I could go out and find new clients, but I've been wanting to move in this direction anyway. So let me do that. And I think it was 2012 when she finally did fire me. And it was that summer when I launched my coaching business officially. So the point is, this has happened to me. Very painful, very easy to fall into this routine. And the allure of that steady income is just, it's so easy to just fall into it, into that routine. But, what do you actually do about it? Right? How can you break the cycle? How can you keep this from happening all the time? Well, I'm going to give you a few practical recommendations. We're not going to go deep into any of these, but I just wanted to sprinkle some ideas out there. First, run the number. I think this is so important. It seems so basic, but it's important. Add up what each client paid you over the last 6 or 12 months, and then figure out, just to see, what percentage your biggest ones represent. If your biggest one is north of 40 or 50% of your income, you found your project for this quarter. You don't have to panic. You just have to know what it is. You have to work on this. So that's the first thing. Just let's take a look at reality. Take stock. Second, build a second leg before you need it. The goal here is to grow a second and third source of income around your big client so that no single one client can sink you. You keep the big client. I'm not saying fire them. You just stop letting them be the only thing holding you up. I mean, if you bring other sources of income, what does that automatically do to your main source of income? It lowers the ratio, right? The percentage that client is or represents of your total income. And this is where the AI tools can genuinely help. And I mean that in a practical way. So the reason most of us let a big client take over is bandwidth. Yes, it's comfort, but at the core, it's really a bandwidth issue. We're already maxed out, so adding more clients sounds like a fast track to burnout. But when used properly, AI takes a lot of the production load off your plate. You know what? The research, the first drafts, the repetitive pieces, the brainstorming, coming up with new ideas and presenting new offers to your clients. I can think of at least a dozen really practical ways AI can help you with production load, that is. And that frees up real hours. And those hours are what let you take on a second or third client without working nights and weekends. Third, keep a little marketing going even when you're full. This is something I've been just telling and advising all my coaching clients to do for years. And I'll admit it, this is the hardest one. I know because I've fallen into the trap of, I know that this is what I need to do, but I still didn't do it. But when you're busy and the income is steady, you still have to do it. I get it that outreach feels like a waste of time, but honestly, a small, steady trickle, even an hour or two a week, keeps your pipeline alive so you're never starting from zero. The writers who get blindsided are almost always the ones who stop looking at the moment they got busy and comfortable. Now, here again, AI can really help you with this because of the increased capacity, work capacity, or bandwidth that it gives you. So you now don't have that excuse anymore where you're maxed out. Well, I would actually not say that to myself. I would actually ask myself a different question, which is, okay, so I'm maxed out right now, but I know that this client is 60% of my income. That's not good. So I need to bring in some other work, whether it's with same clients or preferably even a new client, how am I going to wedge them in? Well, that used to be your limiting factor. And now you can say, how can I better use AI to help me free up some capacity so I can bring on a new client or bring on additional work from others who are not that main client? And I think once you change the question you're asking yourself, you're going to start thinking of new possibilities. That forcing function is so important. So look at the fact that you have this constraint as a blessing, because now you have that constraint and you can know exactly what it is. And then you can ask yourself a different set of questions, which are all around, okay, so how do I free up some time, some bandwidth, some work capacity? Now let's talk about why this is harder than it sounds, other than, what some of the things that we've been talking about. Reducing your reliance on a great client to some people can feel ungrateful, even a little disloyal, because they've been good to you. The work is comfortable. Going out to build other income can feel like you're borrowing trouble or being greedy or fixing something that isn't broken. And that's not everybody. But again, I've talked to people who feel that way when they really unpack it. I want you, though, if that's you, think about it this other way. Diversifying protects you and your family. If something goes wrong on your big client's end, and that's usually out of your control, you're still standing. And that's just being a responsible owner of a business. The discomfort piece is the price of lowering your risk, and it's a price worth paying. So let me bring this back to where we started. You will always depend on something in this business. That's just the nature of it. So if you're telling yourself you want complete freedom, that just doesn't exist in the real world. But the key is to choose those dependencies on purpose. You want to spread them out so that no single one can take them down. So here's what I would love for you to think about this week. Pull up your numbers. Again, so important. I know that's boring and it's work. Pull up your numbers. Find the percentage your biggest clients represents. All of them, actually. And if your top one or two represent a higher percentage than feels safe, start building that second leg. And look, you don't have to solve this problem overnight. Don't try to do it all at once. Just take one small step at a time, but do it consistently over the next few weeks. One little thing that I almost forgot to say is a tip that I've shared in the past. It's actually really effective, and actually eat my own medicine when it comes to this. When you are fully booked, not only should you look at ways to free up some capacity or build up some new bandwidth or capacity, but change the approach of your marketing. So rather than it being a, hey, what can I help you with? Or I can help you with these things. Do you want to talk about that? Switch from traditional prospecting to nurturing your longer term contacts and not yet ready leads. So what do I mean by that? Nurture your existing clients, nurture past and dormant clients, nurture leads that never converted, nurture sources of referral, nurture colleagues. What do I mean by nurture? Stay in touch in a value-added way. You're not asking for anything. You can just send a quick note. Hey, came across this the other day, thought of you because of blank. Hope you're doing well, Ed. That's it. That's it. Don't overthink it. Send something that's relevant. Don't overthink what you send. Doesn't have to be perfect. Stay top of mind. When you think of someone, hey, thought of you the other day because of this thing, or in social media, hey, this is a comment about something they posted, right? But make it a sincere, authentic comment. The point is, there are ways around these constraints that maybe we hadn't thought of because we think that everything has to be this way we've always done it. And it doesn't have to be that. You went solo to be free, right? Spreading your income across a few good clients instead of betting everything on one, that's just the big part of what keeps you free. So just remember that. Hope you have a great week, and I'll see you in the next episode. Well, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the episode. And just a quick reminder to grab your free copy of my latest book, Earn More in Less Time: The Proven Mindset, Strategies, and Actions to Prosper as a Freelance Writer. You can get your free copy at b2blauncher.com, where you will also find the detailed show notes to this and all my other episodes. Enjoy and have a great day.